or a little bed frame back there.
That'd be kind of tough. Yeah, that'd be fire.
Instead of like sleeping on the ground. Like
so, like you say, you're sleeping on the ground, like in a tent.
Like for majority of the summer months, I would sleep on 2 foam sleeping pads, so probably like 2 inches thick of like foam, just on the ground.
Like a mattress topper.
No. Like have you ever seen like the cellophane pads? They're like look like accordions. They're like like that. And I would sleep on 2 of those with like a little blankie, just next to my car, and wake up by the sun. It's really hot in the summer in Utah, even at night. So like sleeping anywhere but outside really isn't.
So how did you adapt?
I'm so limitless, I might just cross dimensions. Lately, it's just been me against time. Lately, I can't seem to get things off my mind. Lately, I've been trying to make sense of all these signs. Lately, I've been seeing right through your lies. We've been pushed to.
All right, welcome back to the Mike on Mike podcast, where we dive into real stories with real people and we get different perspectives. I am your host, Mike Robinson, and I have a guest, climber and outdoorsman, Enzo Fuentes. We appreciate you and your time today. Thanks for joining us. Let's clap it up.
Bro. Thank you so much.
Of course, bro. So, how are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. Just enjoying the day off right now. Looking forward to later, hopefully some climbing.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm looking forward to that too. I'm glad you added me into the group chat finally.
I thought you were in there, dude.
It's all right. So looking back on everything that you've gone through, do you think that you came a long way?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think that I've just in general, like from what I wanted to do when I started, I guess like becoming an adult until now, leaps and bounds ahead of where I thought I would be, 10 years ago.
No, for sure. So graduating high school, we both graduated in 2019, obviously. So going straight to SIU, what was your mindset going? Because for me, for example, going into high school, I wasn't necessarily thinking about adult life and everything. I was kind of just focused on getting out the house and being out the house. So what was your mindset after high school?
Getting out the house, for sure.
So was your goal, like, did you have any goals when you were down at SIU, or were you, like when you got there, or were you just like going with the flow, trying to figure it out?
So my like original plan was to get a business like degree, business major, some type of marketing. And then I originally wanted to like open a business as like a swim school.
Oh, okay.
Like I used to work for a swim school when I was like younger than like 16 in high school. And I realized it was like super profitable. Thought about like 1, the money involved. 2, like I always enjoyed helping people.
For sure.
Ever since I was little, I just like helping people in different capacities. The first like lawyer didn't work out clearly.
Right.
But like overall just like helping people. So that was kind of my main goal, was just like go in there with the idea of like getting a business degree and like becoming an entrepreneur at one point.
Okay. No, for sure. So is there a specific reason that you went to Southern, or?
Like distance from home, essentially, and affordability. It wasn't like the most expensive school, not the worst school ever, but also just like I wanted to be like far from where I started, so I can kind of get like a new environment.
No, for sure. How far away is Southern from here again?
Like 5.5-ish hours.
Yeah, that's a long drive. Yeah. That's a long drive. So tell us about your early college experience. Like, how was it for you socially, academically? Just break that down for us.
Okay. I think it was really easy at first. Socially, I think I'm a sociable person. I can get along with many people. I think like before COVID, super great. Like the actual ability to like have the freedom of like living alone, going to class, coming back, like gathering relationships and like building just these little connections with people was really great. And into COVID it was a little bit more difficult. And then kind of like started ramping downwards on motivation and like kind of staying like with that clear image of like why I was even there in the first place.
No, 100%.
Kind of started like losing sight of that.
No, I went low key through the same thing. Like when it was online classes, it was kind of just like difficult to find the motivation to do the work. It was just like nobody was watching you. You kind of just were doing whatever.
Yeah, it almost felt like not real for a little bit, Like,
honestly, yeah.
Like there was no real pressure. Like when you walk into class and you have something to do or these responsibilities, it was just like, oh, I'm at home, I'll turn my Zoom on my phone, throw it in the other room,
right, or I'll get on the game while I'm in class or whatever. Yeah, no, most definitely.
Yeah.
So while in your later years in college, after we got through the COVID stuff and everything, you got in the gym. You got in the gym.
Yeah.
That made everybody real proud. Who got you in the gym? Like what point did your fitness journey begin?
So I think I have a good friend. He's my climbing partner, good buddy Dylan. Dylan and I met on Xbox. Yada yada yada. He inspired me to start going to the gym. He had his own reasons. He was like the skinny guy, wanted to get big, and me post college, lots of drinking,
We all understand.
lots of unhealthy lifestyle choices. Let's say got me pretty big. So he actually helped me through like different workouts and like getting the confidence to actually just like walk into a gym. And then from there, I just tried to like bring other people into it. So like Austin came with us, my other friend Jake. We had a lot of like Bruno too. Like we had a lot of people with the same kind of drive and desire to like want to look better. And then I just started eating super healthy. I lost like 60 pounds in about 6 months after
wonderful.
college. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, because it was always like we were talking on Xbox and PlayStation parties, so we wouldn't see each other in college and everything.
Yeah.
So we came back for the summer. And we're like, hey, yo.
Yeah, a little thin, but I was pretty big. So
Hey, I was too. We all were. It happens to the best of us. So how do you how do you stay motivated? Because obviously, getting in there, everybody, say when they first get in there, they're super motivated. They're like, okay, I can do this. But like you're still in the gym. You're still very active, probably the most active in the group, to be honest. So how do you stay motivated?
I think it's like it comes in waves. There's like a difference to me between like motivating every day and like getting up and having the motivation, like that feeling to go to the gym or like exercise or something of that nature versus like knowing you need to do it.
For sure.
So I guess it'd be like discipline over motivation.
Or being more dedicated to it than dedication and motivation.
I think like today it's still like in that wave pattern, but like when I really truly do want something, like in this case, like I wanted to look better. I wanted to kind of like, it was like chasing a tail, right? Because you look better, but then you want to look better than that.
No, for sure.
And eventually like I did hit like a little bit of a break in that pattern where I was like, okay, like I look fine. I can do my thing. I'm satisfied with where I'm at and like focus my goals in different places. Like climbing, like hiking, backpacking, doing other things. It's still exercise, but maybe not necessarily like bodybuilding.
For sure.
Or trying to just like obtain this crazy physique.
So you mentioned climbing, and now we know you're really big into climbing.
Yeah.
You're Enzo Climbs on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
What got you into climbing, and like what drew you to it?
So I think same thing as the gym. Like I was saying about my friend Dylan, he was my Xbox friend for like, I think it was 11 years.
Yeah.
And then
he's from Michigan, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
He's from Michigan and we're in Illinois. So it was a real big disconnect. I remember hearing about you guys. Yeah, we're going to see Dylan. I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, you going
and
to
you knew him too.
I knew
for
you.
years.
Yeah,
though, like
I've known him
years,
for years. Dylan's a great dude. But yeah, it was just a real surprise because, I don't know, just growing up, he's an online friend and you're like, you didn't know, it was like 7th or 8th grade when you guys were like, oh, we're going to go see Dylan. I was like, oh, okay.
I just never thought like, you never think you'll meet him, right? Like
for sure
online, but no, he also got me into climbing when we went to go see him actually. We were going to go get drinks at the bar later. And before that, we were pretty bored. So he's like, oh, why don't we try going to this climbing gym? So we went to this little gym in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
And just tried it. Our hands were like all ripped up. I remember like holding the cold like glass of Rubaeus beer. It's like this raspberry beer, like cooling my hands off. And it was just like probably the best 2 hours I had. Like, that whole day. It was just so much fun. And then from then on, he mentioned to me that he was into it, wanted to like try to do like bigger objectives, like, climb hundreds and hundreds of feet at a time and just be in high places. And ever since that moment, I was like, okay, like if you're down to be my climbing partner and to like do these crazy things with me, then I'm down to like train and like really try to do it.
No, for sure.
So I'd say he's a huge like catalyst in that whole process. Like,
100%.
I think I'd probably still just be working out like in the gym if it wasn't for him saying like, hey, I want to go climbing, let's go try this.
No, for sure. So, yeah, shout out Dylan, man.
Yeah, for real.
So can you dive deeper into what types of climbing you guys do? Because you don't only just climb indoors at the gym. You guys go outside. You rappel. You got a bunch of you have more gear than I can count. So like, can you just go do a deeper dive into the types of climbing you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we started off with like just plastic pullers. We're in the gym, like climbing gym. And I feel like that was a really good place to like learn and to start. So that's like where we go normally throughout the week when we're not obviously out in places.
Right. That's what we're about to go after this.
Yeah. I think that kind of was like the start of training for going outside. So we climb in the gym to go outside, and there's like different types. So like sport climbing is routes that are established. So for example, like a giant cliff face has these bolts in it. So at one point, 10, 20, 50 years ago, someone rappelled down that rock and drilled these bolts in. So that's considered like sport climbing, just more like nonchalant, or I guess you could say like relaxed climbing. You can still go pretty hard, but it's safe. And we moved in from there into like ice climbing, which is kind of other end of the spectrum.
Not safe.
Not it's like you put a seatbelt on at 200 miles an hour. You know, how much safer does it get, right? There's a lot of risk involved, but it's all about like perceived risk. Like if you and I think we can do that, then both of our perceived risk is lower. You know, we're like, okay, we can safely execute that. Versus if you think it's too much and I think it's not dangerous enough, then we probably won't go after it, right? You don't want to step out of your comfort zone. But that kind of climbing is probably my favorite. It's just like so stimulating to your brain. Like it's cold. There's 10,000 things going on. You're jangling around, you know, harness weighs an extra 30 pounds.
Right.
And you're just climbing up this like frozen, it's wet. It might not be wet. It's freezing. The wind is in your face, like very cold. But and I guess in the way that sounds, just sounds miserable, but it's really fun.
Just a little bit. I was just about to ask, so like when you're like on the ice, for example, what are you like going through? Like, what are you thinking in your head? Like, are you like, I'm tired, like this is heavy, like, or are you like, this is great, like I'm like, what are you going, like, go through the emotional processing you're going through while you're up there?
Don't fall.
Don't fall. that sounds a lot simpler than you make it seem. Like, I feel like it's more than just that.
It's a huge flurry of emotions, but that's like usually the number one thing going through my head. Typically after the first like 30 or 40 feet, you know, you start feeling it in your arms. You know, your arms are above your head for so long, the blood starts draining.
For sure.
So then your actual arms like start to slowly freeze. So when you bring your arm down and shake, you know, the blood rushes back, it burns, it's hot. So it's like a huge mix of like emotions of like, one, you feel your feelings, like you feel a lot of pain.
Right.
You also feel the cold, you know, you're kicking a lot, the toes hurt. So I think it's also like don't fall mixed with a bunch of other like adrenaline type of emotions. Like I want to reach the top of this and I want to do it safely. And I also kind of zone out anybody on the ground. Like once I leave the ground when I'm climbing in any scenario, whether that's at the gym, on ice, on a giant cliff, on a small cliff, like I don't really hear anything else under me. I kind of just feel like I'm trying to make the movement with intention. Like every time I make a move, every time I move my feet, my hands, and look around, like I'm doing it with the goal of making it to the top as easy as possible and to have as much fun as possible.
No, for sure. Okay. So, go into the other outdoor sports that you do, because you do a lot of things. You hike miles, you bike miles. So go into the other sports that you do.
So I used to do a lot of mountain biking. That was actually one of like my most outdoorsy sports, I guess you could say. Like I did that with my dad ever since we were young. And that actually might have sparked a little bit more of the outdoor stuff that I do now. Just because that was like our way of like going out and having a good time. And same way with that, you know, like even if he was in front of me or behind me and we're biking, like you kind of block that out and all you can see is just like the trail line and the trees around you. And that is probably like a really good feeling too.
No, 100%. Because me and Hakeem, during COVID, we were biking. The longest we went was 37 miles.
Whoa, yeah, that's so far.
Yeah, but one time both of our phones died and we got separated. And I remember the last thing he was like, just meet me at my house. And he was still in Naperville. So it was like 20 miles and like it was literally just me and the trail that hadn't have any music or anything. It's pretty good being out there. I can't lie.
Yeah.
But getting lost was not very fun because I was like, what if he turned back and then we're just like completely separated? Like I didn't want to just be like, hey, Miss Tiffany, I don't know where Hakeem's at, but I'm here.
You're just like knock knock.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't have been good. So go through breaking your ankle. Mountain biking.
Yeah, so
because that was a really random turn of events. You just were like, I just shattered my ankle, like in the chat, and we're like, how on earth did that happen?
So this is actually while I was still out of shape. I went to Vail, Colorado in July of 2021, And my great aunt was living out there, so went to visit, went to the mountains. It was summer, so really nice. And my dad was like, oh, let's go mountain biking. You know, you guys would be down.
For sure.
So we ended up getting some nice rentals and moving up into the mountain, did a good first lap. You know, kind of a feeler, but your feeler's out there.
Right.
It's a big mountain, so, you know, you're going downhill very fast. And got a little confident. And mind you, this was when I was like probably 220 pounds. So a lot less nimble than I am now.
For sure.
And I think that's saying something because I'm still not that nimble.
That's a lie. You are very nimble now.
And then, yeah, you know, second lap, we're going down, probably not even like 15, 20 minutes down the trail. I was going straight down this like access road, and there's this huge divot, like a pothole kind of, and front of the bike goes in there, and I just get like launched off my bike. And I ended up like going kind of head first, but in an effort to like not break my neck, I like kicked my foot on the ground, kind of like near the mound of the trail on the edges, and that just like completely like torqued my ankle the way it's not supposed to go.
Right.
And I remember like, you know, yelling. I was last in the group too, so not many people were behind me. So, you know, my whole group's in front of me. They're all climbing thinking it's good. Biking thinking it's good. And yeah, I was just laying there with like a broken ankle. I heard every gym teacher I've ever had since like I was a kid. She'd be like, hey, walk that off. Walk that off, you know? And I stood up, just my leg just flopped underneath me, and that's when I knew it was broken. Wouldn't wish that pain on anybody, to be honest with you.
Was it like an instant pain? Like, did adrenaline didn't help you at all? Or?
I'd say probably for like a minute. Like while I was screaming, the pain kind of went away for a second. That's when I tried to stand up, and that's when it all came back. I ended up getting like the option of an airlift, or they had like the maintenance workers for the trails with like trucks up there. It was still like an hour away. And so they offered the helicopter. I was like, I kind of still want to go to college. You know, don't want to put my tuition into a chopper ride to the hospital.
Right.
And I ended up being in like the front seat of a access truck with like my leg on the dash, just like sitting there elevated for like an hour.
Was it in like a sling? Or
No, I was just kind of like holding it.
No way.
Yeah.
Where did it break at? Like,
so it broke like from on both sides here and here, just straight through. And then I had like another break in the front by my foot. So it was like two giant cracks that went right through it. But they were like pretty clean breaks, like no like bone fragments or anything.
Okay, that's good, I guess.
Better than what it could have been.
Yeah, no, for sure. So can you go through like what the recovery like was for that? Was it because to go through the recovery like that? Because I've only gone through like a knee recovery. I can only imagine what an ankle recovery was like.
Yeah. So it puts you out. You can't walk, can't bear any weight on it. For the first like 4 days, I was using like the opioids prescribed. And then, you know, I realized like, okay, this is like way too much for your body. And it's just like so much pain all within like the first, like it was a 12-week recovery.
Okay.
I think by like week 10, I was walking a little bit more, but really for those first like 9 weeks, just like pain every single day, like no amount of ibuprofen or like any, if you smoke any medicinal, like it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just really very painful. And you also have like a lot of atrophy in the leg. So not just here in the ankle, but literally your entire leg. And in that process, I actually ended up having like a lot of back pain, a lot of like hip pain because I couldn't use one leg. You know, your hip muscles are off. And if your hip muscles are off, then your lower back is off. Right. And that kind of like caused problems up the chain. So that's when also like post-recovery, when I started getting more into fitness and doing better, I was able to like find those muscular imbalances and like
no, for sure,
heal them. But tell you right now, I wouldn't wish that pain upon anybody.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. Like even with my knee surgery, I was able to put like a little weight on, like not a lot, but I was still able to like hobble around a little bit. But yeah, not being able to walk and pain all the way up the leg, I can't imagine.
Yeah, no. I might have a picture of me on a scooter. I'll have to find that so show you.
Well, that's fun. You have to ride around on the scooter. That's pretty fire.
Like the single knee scooters. I remember my parents were like, all right, you got to stand up or else your blood's going to clot. Because like I would just be like bedbound like most of the day. So if you're laying in bed, like your blood could clot. So you're like walk around and like do all these PT. I actually had a really good PT. She like helped me heal this ankle really, really good. A lot of pain in that too, but it's a lot better than I think if I just would have like half-assed it.
No, for sure. So how long did you have to do PT for?
Started on week 9. So it was like 12-week recovery to where I could walk, but I didn't actually like have a normal step, a normal type of walk until probably 14 or 18 weeks after.
Oh, wow.
So if you think about it, like a little less than 6 months of like true recovery.
Okay.
The doctor who did this surgery also was like the Winter Olympics surgeon.
Oh, really?
So because I broke it in Vail, that's like a very like bougie mountain, I guess. And yeah, he like also operated on like Shaun White and like a bunch of other like
That's fire.
Olympic athletes. So you know what's in here is it's pretty sturdy.
Right. No, for sure. It's built for whatever sports you got going on now.
Yeah.
Okay. So transitioning out of sports, you got some sort of wildlife certification or something. Can you expand on? Can you give us the proper name for it? And can you just
Yeah.
expand on that for us and the process of getting that and why you got it?
Yeah, so I'm a wilderness first responder. That's essentially like a certification that gives me the ability to, I'll say, operate or I guess help, for lack of a better term, you in the event of a medical emergency more than 2 hours away from help.
Okay.
So in a scenario where me and you are 2 hours or more in the backcountry, for example, like let's say we're trying to climb some big objective in the mountains and we parked a whole day ago, you know, obviously big hike back, more than 2 hours. If you were to get injured, break a bone, bleed very heavily, or like dislocate something, like I technically have like the ability to operate on you and to help you without like any repercussion.
No, for sure. You say technically, like you like know, like so you know, like
Yeah.
If I fell and I like broke my ankle, you'd be like, okay, I know what to do.
Yeah, I know the procedure.
Okay.
I think that there are like probably like a lot of things that are taught in the class that aren't meant for you to have like off the top of your head. Just like when you see it, you know
Right.
what to do. Like I can splint pretty much any part of your body. We can stop heavy bleeds. Like we have really nice med kits. That's between like me and all my friends who we climb with. You know, we bring proper medical gear. Like there's like special tape that will like clot your bleeding if you're heavily bleeding, stuff
okay.
like that. And like unconventional ways to help things. Like, you know, out there, it's not like we have the access to, you know, crutches for you. So you have to be very, you know, on the spot, like what's around me that I can use to help my friend from not dying.
No, for sure. So can you go through like the process of getting that? Like what'd you have to do? Was there like a class or classes that you had to participate in?
So it was a 70-hour course.
Oh, wow.
Actually at SIU.
Okay.
Me, Dylan, and another friend of ours, Johnny, went down there. And it was 70 hours, 7 days. We did like, it was like half the day outside, like actually doing real life scenarios. And then the other half was like in class book reading, a lot of like hands-on stuff. I think that the class is super grueling. Like we'd get there at 7 a.m., get off around like 7 p.m., get some food, go to the hotel we were staying at, and we would study till midnight every night for 7 days.
Oh, wow.
And then the last day we took a big test. It's like 100 questions or so, and really supposed to like test your knowledge because these kind of things are super serious, you know. Like
No, 100%.
if you have the cert and you can't act upon it, then what's the point of having it, right?
No, facts. So you guys had to be really locked in to get it. It wasn't like a driver's school, like a driving class.
Yeah, I think if we didn't take it seriously, none of us would be woofers.
No,
That's what we call it, woofer.
A woofer? Why do you call it a
It's the
woofer?
spelling, WFR.
Oh, okay. All right, got you. So once you got your certification for that, you ended up going to Utah. Why did you go to Utah?
So I actually was like, I booked the class for the woofer before I found out about the job in Utah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Now, the reason I booked the class was because I knew, like, pivoting from what I wanted to do in college and, like, all the business, like, wanting to start a business as, like, swim school stuff or anything that wasn't directly related to the outdoors, I pivoted and was like, okay, I've tried that, didn't work. You know, some would say messed up or, like, yeah. At the end of the day, though, I think it was more like to prepare for my future in pivoting from business to want to be an outdoorsman, wanting to be like recreational guide, wanting to do work that required required being as far away from a desk as possible.
Right, for sure. Yeah, sitting at a desk is not very fun, as I can tell you from my experience right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you that too. Right now. I feel the exact same way. Being at a desk, or at least like being enclosed behind four walls and a window, is just like so hard. And after working in Utah, like I found this job for wilderness therapy, it's was totally different job description than what we actually did.
No, for sure. That's one of my next questions, actually. So, like, what were you actually doing while you were in Utah? So, here, since you said it was what was the job description? Let's start there first.
So the job description was essentially like to help teens in the wilderness. I think very vague in like what the wording was. It was more just like about essentially being like some type of guide for like hiking and climbing and camping and like being out in the backcountry, like far away from like actual resources. But that's not exactly how it was worded. It was worded more so like this was an actual program with like facilities and things like that.
Right.
But it ended up being very different. It was actually more of like the program was the people, because at the actual place we worked, there was no like building.
There was no, like the NCAA, there's no NCAA building. It's just the NCAA just exists.
Yeah, like we had a base, which was like in the town.
Okay.
But where we worked was 60 miles at least from that little building.
Really? Okay.
60 miles from the nearest gallon of gas or milk. We had like no running water sources other than like creeks and like troughs and like rivers and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There were certain like water tanks from ranchers, but essentially like think like mountain range, like 200 acres of like desert, valley, foresty kind of like high desert.
Okay.
And that's where we worked. We had like different groups. There was boys groups, girls groups, 4 different groups total. And they were always spread across this map. You check the map, see where they're at, drive to the location, switch with your staff. And from there, we would just work 7 days on, or was it technically 8 on, 6 off. And that's where we lived. So I would leave my phone at the car at work at the base. And then for those 8 days, we would just live with troubled youth, essentially. Like very difficult kids.
That sounds. Yeah, that's a really big pivot from business and entrepreneurship. So how did you decide to be like, okay, this is something that I want to maybe do? Like, what made you be like, yeah, I'm going to go out and do this?
I think similar to like you in the fact it's like starting this, right? Like you just wanted to take that leap.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, for
what's
sure.
the point of, like saying you're going to do something if you're never going to do it, or you never know if you're going to succeed if you don't try.
100%.
So that's the attitude I took with the Utah job. Was one, I can move with 2 of my closer friends, people I know care about me, people that have my back. And then actually like getting away from home, like, this was like 23-hour drive. So it's not like I can't just be like, oh, I'm going to come home for the weekend. No, it's like, hey, I live out here, live in my car, just being a dirt bag, working. We got paid like once a month. So
okay. Yeah. Wow. That's different.
Very.
So every 31 days or whatever?
It was the 7th of every month. And if the 7th fell on like a Sunday, then you weren't getting paid till the Monday. So sometimes like 32 days if you count it.
You're better than me.
Oh, it was so hard. It was so hard.
You're
to,
a
like,
much
save.
better man than me. So can you... I can't even fathom that.
Oh man.
Can you take us through like a typical day, like what you get? So say you get out to camp or wherever you got to be at, like say after you left your phone. What do you do on a typical day, like to help the troubled youth, per se?
Okay, so like we'll call it like Tuesdays was our drop day.
Okay.
So like on Tuesday we'd get picked up, driven out to the field. When you get there, essentially like if there's any new kids, you introduce yourself. We do like food drops. So think like literally like Call of Duty. You're calling in like a care package.
Okay.
Except we drop this one off in a truck, and we disperse all the food and whatnot, and like get to know your group. A lot of the time, like obviously after working there for a couple months, like the kids that are in the groups.
Right.
Usually typical stay is around like 60 to 90 days, what the website says.
Per kid, like they stay.
Yeah.
Okay, so like was that 2 to 3 months?
Yeah, but there are some that stay longer, some that stay less. It just depends on like it's unique to each student.
Okay, for sure.
But yeah, like starting from there, like we'd usually do like a pack hike. So staff would get dropped off. Next day we pack up camp. So that's like, we'd have our latrine, which is like a giant hole in the ground where people go to the bathroom. So you got to bury that, leave no trace, snuff out any coals, clean up the camp completely, pack everything. And then we just get on the trail and we would hike, X amount of miles, depending on how good or bad the kids are, how stoked they are on hiking or not hiking is how far we'd walk. Mm-hmm. And, as a actual like leader for this kind of work, like you're never truly like in control. You're kind of just like managing like a small little time bomb is like how I thought of it, you know. Throughout the week, you're going to have to cut different wires. And I use like that metaphor because like as much as I am the leader in the group or someone else is like, hey, like I'm the lead guide and we're going to do A, B, and C this week. If the students are not on that train with you, then you're not doing anything.
Right. Okay.
So a lot of it was just like trying to, for lack of a better term, like break the ice. And when you do a hard hike, when you do something like it's July in Utah, like it's 100 degrees, you know, it's very hot.
Sounds treacherous.
We're hiking uphill, you know, everyone's got hot water in their water bottles. Like it sucks. And so that's where my job comes in, is to like break that ice and to get under the skin of these like troubled teens and be like, hey, like you just did something really crazy, incredible. Like we just hiked so far, like tell me about it, talk to me about it, like be vulnerable now and like explain like how your life is different than mine. Right. And at the end of the day too, like a lot of them, we worked with kids 13 to 17. So like a lot of them have like really hard backgrounds, you know, and some of them just smoked a little bit of weed and they're at this program, while others are like going through this like whole world of hurt and like horrible scenarios, like the worst thing you can think of, you know, like bad things. And it's all about like, how can I help them convey their emotions using the wilderness and like doing these hard things outdoors and like accomplishing, like making a fire. We used to make fire with no lighter. So like stone, a spindle, and a wooden board.
I remember seeing that on Snap. I'll be like, yo, this is like the coolest thing I've seen on the internet all day. Like
when you make a fire like that, like just like it lights something in you too. Like not only do you make a little coal, right, like in your hand, but you literally do like feel something inside. It's like, wow, like I just achieved something like that.
No, for
you know,
sure.
It's like less than 1% of the people can do it, you know, and it's an exciting feeling. And then at least for me, it was about conveying the emotions of the students to their therapists so that we can help like work together these like almost like an onion, like peeling back the layers of like, why are these behaviors the way they are? Like, why are they even here in the first place? Right. And it's a two-way street. A lot of it is like, you know, in the environment they grew up in with their parents and them actually like developing different behavioral problems. It's kind of like, I feel like I'm on a tangent, but I think it's...
No, you're doing your thing. This is why we got you here.
It's just like so much going on at once, but the typical day really is just like connecting with the students at the program and then making sure that they're all 1, safe, 2, fed, and 3, hydrated. I think those are like the main concerns, especially being out there. Yeah, I mean, we played games. It almost sounds worse. Like when I talk about the job, like people are like, wow, that's insane. Like, how could you do that? But it's not all bad. There is like definitely a healthy amount of good moments, like wholesome moments that you have connecting with people, and just as many on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like, wow, that was the most stressful day of my life. Like I just worked 8 a.m. to midnight. Right. You know, I'm going to do that again tomorrow. So
yeah, no, I feel like that goes for any job though. I mean, like you have your up days and your down days. Like some days you're like, oh, okay, I'm really like, I'm glad I have this job. And other days you're like, I can't stand this person. I don't know why I'm here. So like, I feel like that goes with any job. So what made you transition out of that job?
So I worked there for a little less than a year.
Okay.
And the reason I stopped was I think because of a little bit of burnout. You know, obviously like for a week straight or 8 days, I would do doubles too. So that's 16 on.
Yeah, that's
like 12 off. So
that's treacherous.
You start to like lose sight of like actually wanting to connect with the students, and you just kind of want to like
go home.
It
turns into more of a job.
Right, because it felt a lot less like a job in the beginning, but then as you start to burn out, you start almost resenting like the students, right? And it's like it's not their fault that they're there. I mean, a lot of it is environment based and like parental like I guess lack thereof of parents, you know, or like people who really care about them. So I just didn't want to hit that limit where it's like I'm not actually doing any good anymore. Like I might actually even be hurting more than I'm doing.
No, for sure.
And also like I lived in my car, like I said, lived out of a 2013 GMC. I think for like the first week of being out in Utah, I slept in the car, and I realized I was like, this is way too uncomfortable. So I just slept like next to my car, like in rain, snow, whatever.
You were like really outside with it.
Like pretty much like it's like a glorified homelessness, I guess you could say. I'd do it again, but with a different setup. And now that I've done it once, I know what to do and what not to do.
So why would you do it again per se? Just like to have the experience, or?
Yes. I mean, I think it was a great job. I think that it helps you learn a lot about yourself too, because I mean, I'm not perfect, like you're not perfect, and neither were like the students we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So it
For
took a
sure.
little bit of like, it's like push and pull, right? Like I can let them know a little bit about my life without like any crazy detail, just so they can open up a little bit and I can kind of hear their perspective on things, especially based on their experience, right? Like if you have like a horrible experience rock climbing one time, like you're going to be in this position where like you hate it, right? And like
Yeah.
next time someone asks you about it, it's going to be all negative.
Right.
So then like if you think about that, I was able to get that perspective out of, you know, different individuals about like their lives, right? And that helped me learn about my life and like analyze things a little deeper, ask like harder questions to myself while also connecting with others.
No, for sure.
That's why I'd do it again. And also I would probably get a different I'd probably get like a truck with a topper,
Right.
throw a little bed frame back there.
That'd be
little
kind
good
of tough. Yeah,
storage,
that'd be fire.
instead of like sleeping on the ground. Like,
So like, you say you're sleeping on the ground, like in a tent?
like for majority of the summer months, I would sleep on 2 foam sleeping pads. So probably like 2 inches thick of like foam just on the ground.
Like a mattress topper?
No. Like, have you ever seen like the cellophane pads? They're like, look like accordions. They're like,
Yeah.
like that. And I would sleep on 2 of those with like a little blankie. Yeah, just next to my car, and wake up by the sun. It's really hot in the summer in Utah, even at night. So like sleeping anywhere but outside really isn't.
So how did you adapt? Like in the rain? Like what happened?
I would use my bivvy. Bivvy is like a 1-person sack pretty much. It looks like a coffin. It's like a waterproof membrane. You like put it on. It has poles, and then you just zip it up. And I'd sleep in there, but mine was never truly waterproof, I don't think, because I've had soakers where like I'll wake up and there'll just be like a flow of like running water going down my whole right side of my body.
That's not fun at all. So I'm like scared to ask more outside questions. Like this is
Yeah, it's a little different, I think.
no, for sure. So when you were with the kids, you guys were just outside doing that?
Obviously like minus my car, you know?
Right. So the kids were doing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, like, it was a, like, extremely wilderness job. Like, I mean, there is no shower, there's no sink, there's no running water outside of, like, you know, natural sources. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty tough. Like, in those, like, 8 days I was working, like, I didn't get a shower in. You know, like, for the students, I believe they, like, were required medically, like, to do showers, and we would just use, like, a big 6-liter bladder of water, hang it up on a tree, open the little spout thing, and just
Rinse
shower.
off right quick
Yeah,
before
pretty much.
it ran out?
Bronner's. You ever heard of Bronner's?
Yeah.
That was like conditioner, body wash, and shampoo. All at once.
Well, at least they were clean.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we had tarps that we would set up. Sometimes you could make like a little, like, literally think just like a tarp in between 2 trees. Like
Right.
that kind of tent style. If the kids were good, we'd do cowboy camp, so we wouldn't have to put up the tarp. We just all lay down kind of like sardines and just, you get the sky. No flapping tarp in the wind. It'd be really nice, like on good days. There's also been days where it's snowing, and
I guess your Utah could be whatever.
yeah, the high desert has really weird weather. You know, some days it rains, some days it's very hot, very cold. I don't know. It's a weird biome, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's transition out of that. So you mentioned possibly going to Alaska. You want to dig into that a little bit if you can?
Yeah, so it's still up in the air. I mean, a lot of things. Like, I have a lot of ideas. I think similar to Utah is I have to pick one and just jump and go for it. Alaska is kind of like on the fence just because of cost of living. And I feel like it's a big step in comparison to like my experience. Like, I haven't truly climbed like any insanely huge mountains, you know, nothing that's like so technical that it takes like 3 days to climb it, you know, kind of thing. I think Alaska has a lot of that to offer, which would be really cool. And I also think the opportunities for jobs there, especially in the outdoor industry, is like pretty much the best it can get. You could be a glacier guide, you could be a fishing guide, be a mountain biking guide, be a climbing guide. Like, you could be a whitewater rafting guide. Like, literally, there's just so much opportunity. But similar to that, like, I also have thought of like Montana, Utah again, but obviously maybe different company. There's Idaho has some good stuff, but I want to find just in general, like outside of Illinois, somewhere with a good population of people who are interested in wanting to be outside. I want to start like a guiding company with my buddies Dylan and Griffin, and we can just do like climbing, camping, fishing, etc. And at least for me, like my niche area, like the reason I want to move to is for that company. Obviously, it's like in the works, but I want to help beginners, like people, like for example, like when you never climbed before, right? If we ever go outside, like I want you to be like confident in the fact that I can help you and teach you safely how to do these things that you might have never done before.
Right.
And
Okay.
like, maybe for you, like I wouldn't charge you, but like
right.
there are beginners out there who want to have that experience safely, who don't have the maybe resources like the gear and the lay of the land. But if I can get in connection with them, then they can be like, hey, like, yeah, you know, here's my daily rate. I'll take you out and I'll, you know, enjoy nature with you and like teach you about all these different things, and we can have a sick day and kind of like pursue that until I gather enough experience to start guiding like more experienced people who want like a tougher time.
No,
you know,
for
like
sure.
harder objectives.
No, for
bigger
sure.
things.
That's like a beautiful plan, low key. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
decent.
I think so,
I'd do that. I'd pay for that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
No,
that.
for sure. So, looking back, what do you think the most transformative part of your journey has been? Because you're a man of many faces at this point.
Yeah.
So what do you think that part of your journey has been?
What do you think's been most transformative?
The most transformative. So like what part of your journey has impacted you the most to get to where you're at now?
I think a big portion of it is like relationship with family. Like my family, obviously, like they're normal. I guess normal is a weird word because I think I'm normal, but that's clearly not the case in other people's eyes. You know, of like, okay, wanting to be an outdoorsman and wanting to work in the outdoor industry like isn't technically normal for most people, right? Everyone's going to go to the 9 to 5. They're going to work. They're going to get married, get a nice house with their white picket fence, have a family, and then roll over and die, right? But I don't want to do that.
That's ordinary.
Yeah, ordinary. And so my family and my relationship with them, they always supported me in wanting to do things like this. I think it was a hard pill for them to swallow, but I think that relationship and like being able to be cohesive with them and let them know like, hey, like I'm not going to be this, you know, lawyer millionaire, or I'm not going to be this crazy sales business person who works in the office and invests and does whatever, right? Like them understanding that to a point and like helping me want to get out there was a big transformative part of the process. Like they were able to let me be who I want to be, essentially, like without any limitation.
No, for sure.
I still think there's hiccups here and there where like, you know, it's like a very negative and like faulty beliefs, right? Like you just believe that like, oh, because you hate your job but it pays the bills, you're just always going to hate it and you have to keep working it. Like that's the attitude that some people take, where it's just like, oh, what's getting worse is just going to keep getting worse and you're just going to have to keep dealing with it.
Right. No, for sure. That doesn't
like,
have to be the case
at
all.
That's not the case, right? Like I am like in theory the creator of my future, right?
You
so,
are.
Like,
not in theory.
I am, exactly. You're right. So that's why like that process of like having people who back you help me really develop into what I want to do now, which is like,
for sure.
1, a job I love, 2, doing what I love, and 3, like at the end kind of wrapping it back to like helping people, right? Like, and it might not be in like a crazy transformative way for them, but it's still like I can help you get outside whether or not you love it and you want to do it forever. But it might be like a sick experience that you look back on and you're like, wow, like I would totally do that again. No,
100%. So has your family always, like your parents per se, have they always been a real good support system behind you?
I think so. I think it's back and forth because they grew up in different time. Like I recognize that obviously when I was younger, I didn't really think about it, but like they were traditional, like Peruvian family, you know, very, you know, like stuck in their ways, I think. But I'm the oldest, and you are too. So
I am.
We're kind of like the guinea pigs of like growing up. You know, they're figuring out like what works, what doesn't work. So in that style, I think like up until I was about like maybe 13 or 14, no. But I don't think it matters then because you're just a kid. But when you really start having like ideas and like, you know, thinking about college and stuff, like my parents were pretty much always behind me. especially in supporting me going to college. Because like I said, it was to get out of the crib, like to distance myself from them. But they didn't care. Obviously, they have like unconditional love for me as their son. So
sure.
even though I didn't want to be around them, they were still supportive of that. Even though for me, it was just like, haha, like I'm trying to leave. But they didn't care, right? They were like, as long as you're happy.
As long as you're happy and you're doing something productive in a way. Like you're not just getting out and, going to school and not doing anything while you're at school.
I mean, I still ended up like like not finishing college, but
hey, but you still have a good job now and you have a plan. That's the main thing, like having a plan. Like my parents say, like, yeah, you might not be moving out or anything right now, but as long as you like have a plan to, So yeah,
can't
that's
like
good.
bum around forever, right?
No, definitely not.
I don't know. I get that feeling all the time though, where I'm like, man, I should move tomorrow.
I low key saying, or like, you get cussed out about doing the dishes and you're like, I don't need this, but at the end of the day, they have their ways, and but you got to be grateful for it, because it's expensive.
Oh, dude, that's why like I'm talking about Alaska, dude. So expensive.
What are they like? So if you went to Alaska, you'd rent, or like would you backpack again?
You can't really live in your car in Alaska or like live outside, because I mean you can, but it's like very cold, and there's no sun for a couple months out of the year.
How does that work? It's like no sun and then it's like all sun, or like
it's like an in between. So like the sunsets will get, like the daylight will get shorter and shorter until eventually there's just like very dim daylight. And then the days will continuously get longer, but instead of like having a solstice where it's like, oh, it's the longest day, they have like, it is literally just day.
What? So they're going to bed and it's like,
like
how it is out right now?
The midnight sun.
I've never heard of that.
So they have like the midnight sun, which is at midnight, it's sunny outside in Alaska.
That's crazy.
And that'd be really cool to experience, like the views and the places. Like it's just like,
for sure.
It's so like, it's crazy. I mean, Alaska's like, what is it? It's like a third of the size of the United States.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's just like massive.
It's the biggest state, but it's not even connected to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be definitely a nice trip to come visit you if you end up going, for sure. So just wrapping it up here. What's something that people misunderstand about Enzo at this point? Like, you've done a lot of growing. What do you think the answer to that is?
Misunderstood?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think sometimes I'm misunderstood in the way I like to play. Like my whole life isn't about like playing, and like a lot of people that ask me when I do these things, like the Utah job or like moving to Alaska or like wanting to be a guide and stuff like that, like think that I don't want to work, that I just want to like enjoy as much as possible and like try to like live as bare bones and cheap as I can. But that's not actually the case. Like,
right.
I want my work to be play.
Right. No, that makes total sense.
So that like, I'm not just like, trying to bum around and just like climb and die early and do all these like fun things just because I can. It's more like, it's because I have to. Like, I feel it like in my bones and in my body that it's like everything that I want to do outdoors and stuff like that is like something that I have to do.
No, for sure. I think that's a very good point. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. I feel like I gotta do this.
It, right?
Like I feel like this is just something that I can do and something that I'd like I've done it before, and there's no reason why I can't do it now and make it be successful. So I totally feel you.
Maybe too, like how you need to do this, right? And like the misunderstanding that might be is like people misunderstand this and think like, oh, that's like Mike's like little side hustle, right? And it's like, no, you want this to be like your thing.
That's what I'm saying. I want this to be what I got going on.
Exactly. Like this is like your job. Like this is going to be like your life.
Exactly. Right? When I want people to be like, oh, what do you do? I want to be like, I'm a podcast host.
Yes.
Like that's how I want it to be. Yeah. I totally feel
that's how I want climbing to be. And
okay.
Like being a guide and being outdoors. Like I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, he just is a weekend warrior, goes out and climbs. Like no, like I want it to be like, that's what he does. Right. Like
no,
I want
for
to be
sure.
That level of committed to it.
No, for sure. So to wrap up, where can people find you? Where can people follow your journey?
Enzo _climbs. Enzo.climbs.
So. Don't look at me.
One of those Enzo.climbs.
We'll make sure we tag them. But But yeah, man, this is my guy, Enzo Fuentes.
_climbs.
Enzo_climb. But this is my guy, Enzo Fuentes, and we appreciate him stopping by for Michael and Mike. And I'm your host, Mike Robinson, and this is Michael and Mike, and we'll see you guys next time. Yes, Sirski.
Against time. Lately, I can't seem to get things off my mind. Lately, I've been trying to make sense of all these signs. Lately, I've been seeing right through your life.